You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So a common question that gets asked is, can you get skin cancer when you drive? Are you at higher risk of getting skin cancer because of the windows and the sun coming in? Or does that glass block UV rays? Well, if you've ever driven in a long drive during the summer like I have, whatever window I'm on, I'll get burned. All right, but there's different UV rays. You got UVA, UVB, UVC. So UVA versus UVB are a little different. UVA rays can go all the way through. They both can cause cancer, but UVA can penetrate the epidermis, go down to the dermis. UVB, though, are more responsible for the burns. That's how I remember them. A goes all the way, B causes burns. But when you drive, do you need protection? Do you need to be using sunscreen protection I'm talking about? All right. So this was a very interesting article from Medical Express looking at getting sunburned and sun exposure. And interestingly, the different windows of the car may protect you differently. So I guess you might have to sit on the dashboard if that window protects you more than others. Hey, don't quote me on that one. So the total UV radiation that reaches the Earth, 95% is UVA, 5% is UVB. UVB, very superficial, reaches the upper layers, but cause burn. UVA penetrates deeper. Remember, A all the way. That causes more skin damage and can lead to skin cancer, but UVB can also. Now, glass can block UV radiation, but differently. So the glass used in your house, office, car windows are pretty good at blocking UVB, although I've still gotten burned. But then again, I mean, look at me. I look like I need blood transfusions. I'm so light. But laminated glass can block UVA. UVA can pass through other glass used in car, house, office windows and cause skin damage, increasing the risk of skin cancer. So they say a car's front windscreen, I guess that's a term for window. A car's front window lets in a lot of sunshine and light, but it blocks 98% of UVA radiation because it's made of 2 layers of laminated glass. But your side and rear windows are made of tempered glass. That does not completely block UVA. A study, according to Medical Express, of 29 cars found a range from 4% to almost 56% of UVA pass through the side or rear windows. The UVA protection was not related to the car age or the cost of the car, but the type of glass. So you could have a very fancy schmancy car. You got to ask about the glass. And so if you got a baby in the back seat, now I would try to put the baby, the thing is, you got the middle seat, you got the side seats, but usually you put your baby seat by the side window. Well, the sun could be hitting them, so you want to definitely have that cover. Now, there was another study from Saudi Arabia that looked at drivers with a wearable radiation monitor. They had them wear a monitor. They found the drivers were exposed to UV index ratings up to 3.5. They say sun protection is generally recommended when the UV index is above 3. At that point, I guess it takes those of us with pale skin 20 minutes to burn. So if you have your windows tinted, they say that might help and protect you. But it really depends on the type of window. So the front window seems to protect you more than the other windows. So if you're the driver, yeah, you might have a little bit more protection. But interestingly, I have more abnormal moles on my right arm than my left. And I drive a lot. But when I drive long distances, my husband drives. I want to drive, but he wants to drive. He likes driving. I prefer to drive because I feel the bumps and I think like the cars are going to hit us more than it's very interesting. Try that with your spouse. My husband hates driving on the passenger side. He thinks it's my driving. I go, no, now you know why I panic when we drive, because you feel everything. When you're in control, you aren't as nervous. But he's like, no, it's just you're a different driver than me. No, it's not. Don't even bring up the women drivers, all right? So UV exposure can increase your skin cancer risk the more time you're in the car. In fact, they said a study in the United States found more skin cancers on the left than the right side of the face, scalp, arm, and leg, including 20 times more for the arm, right? Because you're left, we drive, right, on the right side of the road. The driver's side is on the left. So in the United States, it would be here. A study in the UK where you're on the other side, they do it all flipped. Yeah. Don't know why. I wonder how the horses used to do it back then. You would have them more on the right side. So, yes, your skin cancer risk is definitely higher. So do you need to wear sunscreen? Most dermatologists recommend using sun protection and sunscreen before you leave the house. I agree with that recommendation because I'm very fearful of skin cancer. I just don't like to put chemicals on my body. I don't like to lather myself up with sunscreen. Now, my makeup has some sunscreen on it, but I don't necessarily put sunscreen on my shoulders and my hands and all that. I probably should because I'm really, really at high risk of skin cancer. But these sunscreens have so many chemicals in them. And so I don't like to put that much stuff on my body. So my recommendation is follow what your dermatologist says, follow what your doctor says. You guys might have different risk factors than other people. But understand that, yes, while you're in your car, you are at risk for skin cancer. Now, these SPFs, we talk about sunscreen a lot. Don't use expired sunscreen. For those of you like me that go to Walmart and will buy 3 bottles on sale and then will barely use part of one bottle because we only have time for one mini vacation during the summer because we work. And then you have extra sunscreen that you put off till the next year. Your expired sunscreen may not work as well. SPF is your sun protection factor. So if there's a sun protection factor, let's say of 10, all right, what that means is, let's say it takes you 5 minutes to burn. If you use that sun protection factor, it'll now change it to 50 minutes. The problem is you got to reapply the sunscreen a lot. If you get it wet in a pool, you have to reapply it. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, don't go away.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger, Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, YouTube, click like and subscribe. And if you ever miss any of our shows, go to drdaliah.com. So, interestingly, but not unexpected, fewer women are taking their husband's last name when they get married. Now, I did. I wanted to have my husband's last name. I thought it would be exciting. Now, maybe it's because my last name was Zodiru with a Z, and I was always at the bottom of the class, not academically, but in terms of last. And being Z-O, I mean, it's not even Z-A, it's Z-O. Zucker or Zuckerberg would have been after me. But I couldn't wait to be Wax. I thought it was super cool. And I was very traditional like that. But nowadays, things are a lot different. And women are really rethinking if they want to change their name. And some of the things, and I speak to a lot of professional women. I have a lot of students who are now physicians, and there's a lot of reasons for it. For them, one is they've already established themselves professionally. So they already have a name. They've built a name. They've had that name now for 25, 30, 35 years. Remember, a lot of us got married when we were a lot younger. Now, many women are marrying when they're almost middle age. So they've established their name. They've established their life. So to change their identity, a little more difficult than, for me, I got married while in medical school. So I was totally fine being Dr. Daliah Wax, whether I was Zodiru or not. I just was excited about that. That was just something I wanted. But a lot of women, professionally, they've built their name. That's who they are. Another issue is will the marriage last? If the marriage doesn't last, they have to keep changing their name. The husband doesn't, but they have to keep changing their name, which is difficult. Another issue is a lot of women want to have the same name as their children. And I'm noticing a lot of patients, the mom's name is different from their kids because they got married and then the marriage fell through and they might have returned back to their maiden name, or now they have a new spouse, and then their children aren't identified as them. And, when you give birth and you go through what you go through to give birth, you kind of want to share a name with your kids. God forbid Corey ever leaves me, and I hope he never does. I'll probably still keep the last name because my kids have that name. And one other issue that is very valid is many individuals come from families where they're the last of that name. I had that conversation with my husband, and my husband's, before he married me, is like, are you going to take my name? I go, good. He's like, if you weren't, I don't know how, that would sit. I don't know if I would be comfortable with that. And I go, the only reason why I would keep my name is if there were no other Zodirus, if I was the last of the line, because I think that's pretty sad for a family to lose their name in history because they had a daughter. And then the daughter gets married and the names are gone. Fortunately, I have two brothers. And fortunately, my brothers have had children. So my family's name lives on. But But I told my husband, if I was the last of the family, God forbid, I would hyphenate the name, and I would somehow either keep or hyphenate. Now, how common is this? Well, a study a couple years ago said 96% of men will keep their name. 4% of men will change their name to their wives. That was shocking. I didn't expect that. But in terms of women, at the time of the study, which was, I think, 2023, 79% of women, when they got married, took on their husband's name. A smaller percent kept theirs, I think 13%, and 6% hyphenated. I think we're going to see a lot more hyphenations. I think the hyphenation is a nice compromise because you keep your family's name going, but you are also bonding and taking on the name of your loved one. And then the kids will have hyphenated names. Some people don't like that. I see all sides. Again, I was very traditional. I wanted my husband's name, but if I was the last of my family, no, I would have probably somehow tried to integrate it. Or even if I took the name, made sure my kids still were able to integrate it because I just didn't want to see the family bloodline lost. Now, and things are different now. But, it's interesting to see how society looks at things and how now we are at this time where a lot of things are getting, I don't want to say bucked in a bad word, but being challenged. A lot of the traditional things being challenged. I really loved taking on my husband's name. However, I noticed that there was within the families and the in-laws, and I understand because you always think you're the center of the earth, whoever you are, that because of the family name, the other family goes by the wayside. Not cool. And so I think a lot of people have seen what's happened in the past where they're like, look, my maiden name, yeah, that's when I was a maiden or whatever the terminology is, but that's still who I am. And for me, I come from a family where you have descendants from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There's a very rich history that we have. We had Zodirus who were in concentration camps. We had Zodirus who had to flee Russia and flee Germany. And all my family, all they did was flee. I mean, he just fleed. Thank God they made their way, and my father made his way to America, and then I was able to be born here and be American. So, for those of you kind of struggling with your daughter-in-law or your son-in-law or on what they're going to do with names, pick your battles. I don't think that should be a complete game changer. In fact, we had a listener a few years back that was very concerned because their son was going to marry somebody who wasn't going to take on their name, and they thought that was a red flag. And they were concerned that, it's because she doesn't expect the marriage to last, or you forget, a lot of us have a lot of pride in our families. And also, yes, it's very American to do, but in Europe, in some countries in Europe, no, the females keep their name. So, you could have, we are a melting pot from people with multiple backgrounds. And with their backgrounds, they want their name to continue. And interestingly, from a practical standpoint, I'm reading some of these cases where people were saying that their spouse had a different name. And so insurance looked at them differently. Certain legal matters looked at them differently because they weren't sharing the same name. And they always had to explain, no, they're my wife. They just have a different name. And so it might be easier to all have the same name. For me, I want to have the same name as my family and my kids, but it might not be practical as it was, and I'm more of a traditionalist. I love tradition. I love the idea of being a bride. Now, did my family give my husband a dowry? No, they had no money. That idea of you need to pay somebody to take your woman. I remember my dad was talking to me about that. He goes, if nobody wants to marry you, we're going to have to pay. That's what a dowry is. And I'm like, oh God, oh my, what would you pay? He's like, anything. to get rid of you. I supported myself, so it wasn't no big deal. But, there's a lot of pride in a name. And I wouldn't look at that as a red flag. Like prenups. People always say, oh, my gosh, if they ask me to do a prenup, there's lack of trust. No, I bring up the Tom Brady, Giselle relationship. Their divorce, albeit probably still not super easy, compared to other celebrities, that went pretty smoothly because it was this is how we're doing it. It's simple. Now, my husband and I didn't sign a prenup because I didn't have any money. He didn't have any money. And but for those of you that you do have things that you're proud of, things in your family. These are things that you want as yours. It might not necessarily have to be, called, let's say, a prenup. If there are things that are of your family that you don't want your spouse to take and destroy, you're allowed to choose things that get to be yours. I understand everything is community property, but you don't have to necessarily call it a prenup. Say, these are things that are my family's. And you could always, have your family own it or et cetera. But we live in a time where the majority of marriages don't work out. And you do need to be practical about that. Like I said, for me, if God forbid Corey leaves me, I'm still keeping his name. Whether he wants me to or not. I like the name Wax. Pretty good. But professionally, I'm Dr. Daliah. So if I do marry, let's say, Jimmy Garoppolo, and I become Dr. Daliah Garoppolo, I'll still be Dr. Daliah to you. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So tonight, Trump is going to be addressing Congress. It is the first address since his reelection. It's not called State of the Union. It's not classified as a State of the Union. I think Ronald Reagan had an address as well. His was it his second term or first term? That wasn't necessarily a State of the Union. So the Constitution requires that the president shall from time to time give the Congress information of the State of the Union. And so we officially started doing State of the Union addresses, I think, by Woodrow Wilson. George Washington and John Adams, I think, addressed Congress, but by Thomas Jefferson, they decided to give them written updates. So this isn't something that necessarily is State of the Union per se, verbatim from the Constitution. Just the Constitution says the president needs to talk to Congress. And so it became, I think the first televised State of the Union was Truman. I wasn't around then, but by memory, the first televised State of the Union was Truman's State of the Union. But their first speech to Congress, I guess, is more of an address to Congress. I'm not sure why that's not called State of the Union. It's usually the subsequent ones are called State of the Union. You guys might know more about this. But anyway, so he's addressing Congress today. And it's going to be a very interesting discussion because there's a lot of things that people want clarity on. They also want to know where some of these are going. This is a very different Trump from the first term. Trump learned from his mistakes in the first term, and he wants to make policy that sticks. He wants to make policy that people feel. I think what really shocked Trump is how quickly history could erase him and how the media could shadow ban, certain, his tweets. Literally, he was banned from Twitter before Elon Musk took over. How things he did and accomplishments he made could be completely reversed when another president comes in and executive order. So the wall, not only wasn't built, but I think rumor has it was even started to be taken down. And so he wants to build something that sticks, that stays. Will the Gulf of America stick? It might. Would ending the war in Ukraine, the Russia-Ukraine war, would that stick? Yeah, that would be historical. If you notice, he wants to make things that stick. He also wants to ensure that there's not going to be cheating in elections, that there's going to be America first. He wants to change the way we do things in terms of immigrants coming in and then birthrights and et cetera. And so these can all be reversed by laws later. But as we saw with Obamacare, once the law is made, it's really difficult to unmake it. That it takes a lot of work to undo a bill. Executive orders are easy to do, but they could be challenged by law. So he is going to now address Congress and address the U.S., although he's probably been one of the most vocal and behind the mic presidents we've ever seen. Every day he's talking to reporters multiple times. And, J.D. Vance, I just have to say, J.D. Vance is getting now a lot of media attention. He's been, as opposed to Kamala Harris, where Biden kept her hidden, and you didn't really see a lot of previous vice presidents. Trump knows that if he wants his legacy to continue, then his vice president needs to be on the job trained and a part of these things. So when J.D. Vance, if he does get nominated to run for the Republicans in 2028, he could say, I was instrumental in this. I was a part of this because, how do you follow Trump? And so, people don't want to lose in 2028 for the Republican side. The Democrats are hoping to go up against, whoever, the Republicans have, including J.D. Vance. But if people like what this administration has done, the Trump-Vance administration, it's going to help Vance a lot. So Vance has been very vocal as well. So so Trump obviously is going to be talking about what he's doing with Doge. He's going to be touting some of the just mind-boggling or boggling. Is it mind-boggling or mind-boggling? Anyway, some of the numbers stemming from the migrants and the gotaways and the border. He has significantly tidied up the border in terms of making it less porous. Also, he has found and deported some major, major criminals. And these are things he promised. So he's going to spend a lot of time talking about that. In terms of the economy, as you see, egg prices are still sky high. And we knew that inflation and prices would not go down right away. He is going to talk about what he's going to do to help. Mind you, the stock market has been pretty grumpy the last few days. So a lot of people are getting a little nervous. So I think this speech is very necessary for Trump to still have Americans on board with what he wants to do from economic policies. He's going to start explaining the tariffs. And these tariffs, I know, are ticking off Canada, ticking off Mexico, and the tariffs started today. And he's the United States imported, from what I understand, about $412 billion worth of goods from Canada in 2024. And so imports from Canada are now going to be taxed at 25%. And so what Trump wants to do is start having other countries pay their share. Now, it's going to take a while for Americans to feel the humans. It's going to take a while for Americans to feel this. That's why with Doge, they're thinking about cutting everybody a $5,000 check so they could feel some of their tax dollars coming back into their pockets. You know, hearing Doge finding millions and millions and possibly billions of waste, fraud, and abuse is fantastic, but how does it make our life different? We need to buy eggs for Easter and Passover. And eggs are ridiculously priced, not because of Trump's fault, but because of, what happened in the previous administration. So he is going to probably convey how America is going to start to feel some of this. He's also going to double down on the work Musk is doing. Now, from what I understand, Doge is supposed to end July 4th. Elon Musk has he has companies to run. So I understand there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse, and they found a lot in a short period of time. But from what I understand, Doge is supposed to retire July 4th of this year. So I don't know if he's going to reiterate that or if he's going to feel the need to extend that. Not sure if that would, though, be mentioned. And then the Ukraine issue. Trump wants to be the one to end the war in Ukraine or disassociate America to the degree America is so that we give less money. And making Europe jump in and kind of pony up more dough is something he's going to be bragging about and touting. Where, look, if Ukraine feels like they can't work with us, then our monetary donations, our contributions, why do we have to be the country giving the most? Let Europe step in. And if Europe does have to step up and Europe does have to fund this Ukraine war, they might be also more willing to try to negotiate peace as well. Now that you have more countries putting money into this long, drawn-out war, you might now have England, France, Italy, Germany go, I think we need to bring Putin and Zelensky to the table. From what I understand, Zelensky is willing to do the mineral deal, so we'll see what happens tonight. I believe it's 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 1877 Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of my listeners sent me a picture. I'm sure you guys have seen this meme online where I think it's the beach in 1971 or early 70s. And there's probably a couple hundred people in this view of the picture. And it says not one individual is fat. Look at what the food industry has done to us. Now, this really looked like a typical day at the beach. It did not look like it was just beauty queens, or you saw people of all ages and families and, in the early 70s, that sort of hairstyle and those sunglasses and the guys in their Speedos. But I've seen the same videos that you all have. They have, like, in the 1920s and 1940s these videos of New York City, and then they'll be refinished in color, and so we'll get to see life and how it was like in the 1940s or 50s, and I don't believe they're AI. I think these are just real footage. But yeah, people were skinnier. Now, we had obesity that you could tell by all the art. That obesity did exist, but not to the degree it does now. And one video that really hit home with me was the video showing the physical education of a school in the 1960s, where they were showing what the kids were doing for physical education. And at first you start watching this going, wait a second, is this a military boot camp? And no, this was early high school PE. And what these kids could do in terms of climbing and pull-ups and push-ups and running. And they were fit. Really fit. Now, one thing nobody is saying, and I don't want to worry you guys, but if the baby boomers of today lived during a time when, during their childhood, they exercised, they got sunlight and vitamin D, they climbed trees, they ran miles, they kept their weight down. Yet we see skyrocketing heart disease, skyrocketing diabetes. Then what do you think is going to happen to the younger Gen X, millennials, and Gen Zs? You're going to be seeing the heart disease, the diabetes sooner, and we already are. I'm seeing 20-some-year-olds with high blood pressure. They'll call in, saying they're sick, they have a cold, whatever, they want something for that. And I'm like, what medicines do you take? And they're on a blood pressure medicine. I go, you're 24. You're only 24 years old. When were you diagnosed with high blood pressure? Oh, this year. I go, or do you have an issue with your kidneys? Like renal artery stenosis? No, I just have high blood pressure. What we're doing to ourselves is ridiculous. And it is about flipping time. We have somebody in the government, like RFK Jr., say he wants to do something about it. I know the media and the left want to ridicule him. I mean, remember, he was Democrat. He was one of yours. And he wants to look at what we're doing and revisit it. Why not? So now, one of you had asked me, what has he done since he got into office? So the media has not been following a lot of that news, but Fox News said that he was confirmed February 13th, 2025. So we're only talking 2 weeks. So he's only been there for 2 weeks. But that day, President Trump signed an executive order establishing the Make America Healthy Again Commission, chaired by RFK Jr., to investigate chronic disease prevalence in the United States. Then, on the 25th, Trump signed an executive order, according to Fox News, directing the Departments of Treasury, Labor, and Health and Human Services to make healthcare prices transparent. That was huge. Then, 2 days later, on the 27th, and I don't think this made the news that it should have, RFK Jr. commended the Steak and Shake fast food restaurant for transitioning away from seed oils and using only beef tallow for its French fries. Now, I'm going to look a little bit more into this, but we know a lot of our heart disease is because of some of the oils and the unhealthy fats and oils that we're using. We have good oils like you could get from omega-3s, omega-6s, avocados, salmon, but a lot of the oils we cook with can be very dangerous. And so he highlighted that a franchise transitioned away from some of these seed oils. Then yesterday, the Texas legislature introduced several bills supporting the MAHA movement. These included calls for more physical education in school, increased nutrition education for medical students, and a reduction of junk food for federal food stamp recipients. Now, MAHA has a lot of potential. A lot of potential. And I am very optimistic about what RFK Jr. can do. I know everybody wants to rip on him because of his vaccine attitude, but I think that the idea of can we research these and ensure that the number of vaccines we're giving kids are still far more beneficial and we're still minimizing risks. I think of course we need to always relook at things. Okay. Science isn't fixed. It always evolves. So we need more transparency. We need to know more. I am a huge fan of food stamp money being only for healthy food. I can't think of any argument for food stamps to go to junk food. I don't think there's anything you could tell me to make me change my mind. If taxpayers are paying for you and your family to eat, then it should be the healthy food. It shouldn't be food that makes your family sick, fat, diabetic. And so when I was in medical school, WIC was one of the food programs that I believe it still exists, where you would go to a grocery store and it would have little labels on which foods were WIC covered. And you would get those eggs, get those vegetables, get that lean poultry for free. Like one per family, but you actually handed them the food. Now things are different where everybody has like a debit card. So you could go to the grocery store and I've seen the chips, I've seen the soda pop. Come on. That our tax dollars should not be going to chips and soda pop. I'm sorry. So I know this is coming out of Texas, but federally, junk food is not allowed on federal food stamps. Increased nutrition education for medical students, abso-flippin'-lutely. Now, medical school, they cram a lot in a short period of time, and you need to learn a lot. And I remember our nutrition segment was good, but it wasn't, we had to learn pulmonary and GI and anatomy and embryology and histology and physiology and biochem. There were so many things we had to learn. On top of that, medical students now, I've been trying to teach them medical Spanish because a lot of their patients don't speak English. And it really is time consuming and dangerous when you have to rely on somebody else to translate for you. So I'm trying to teach people to be able to understand, but patients themselves. So increased nutritional education for medical students, I think, is a must. I just don't know how many extra weeks they could do. What I would do if I was running a medical school was with every section and every clinical block or every block incorporate what nutrition needs to be implemented, what nutritional protocol needs to be implemented. So while you're learning about the parathyroid, or while you're studying kidney stones, while you're studying obesity, while you're studying diabetes, nutrition is interlaid with all of those. And I think some schools are already doing that. 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.